Everyone, thank you so much for watching my channel. Today we're playing Robocop Rogue City for the PlayStation 5. This is also available on the Xbox systems as well as PC. Just a note, as of this recording, I'm recording this in January 2024. There hasn't been a patch to fix the cutscenes for the PS5 version. So when it switches camera angles, you'll see character models appear and disappear, almost like it's loading them in and out of memory, and it's the weirdest glitch or the way the engine works I've ever seen in a video game. And I don't think that's an issue on the other consoles, so I don't think it's like a hardware limitation, because they have this game playable on the Xbox Series S, so that's weaker than the PlayStation 5. So unless the hardware is completely different in some way, but I feel like the Series X and the PlayStation 5 are somewhat similar hardware wise, so I don't know why this is an issue. I don't know why it was released with this issue, like on a major title. There's no way this wasn't seen during gameplay testing. I feel like it would have hurt the game, but I feel like they should have delayed the PlayStation 5 version, but it would make it look suspicious. Maybe it's easier to fix it later, but I definitely hope they fix it. So as of right now, if you have an option and you're sure that that's not something that's going to be in your version of the game, I would select that version. If you only have a PlayStation 5, don't let this discourage you, because they'll probably fix it, and once you get going into the game, it becomes less and less notable. I've already finished this game. I actually started a new game just for this video, so to play Game Plus mode, I think I have to beat this game for a second time, which is fine. There's a lot of options I didn't take. This is made by, I believe you say it, Taeon, and they made the Terminator Resistance games that were very much structured like this, where it was kind of like Fallout Light, where you would run into characters, there's a little bit of resource management, there's dialogue trees, there's side quests, and even though it's not an open world, you kind of have like hub areas. Robocop very much follows that formula. I feel like it's been refined a little bit more, but very much similar. This runs on the Unreal Engine 5. Even though this isn't the highest budget game, I will say this has some of the best lighting I've ever seen in a PlayStation 5 game, especially for natural outdoor overcast lighting in the daylight sections. Because this game is hub-like, I will say that instead of feeling like a fully realized city, it almost feels like you're like on a set, if that makes any sense. It just feels like very concentrated, everything's very close together, but at the same time, it looks like everywhere that's from the movie looks like it's just from the movie. When they first announced this game, I was excited, but a little bit nervous, because I'm like, how can you make a game fun as something that's almost indestructible and has usually just use one gun? And they did a fairly good job. You can upgrade the Auto 9. You actually can pick up guns off of the street. This game looks especially janky in the beginning of this video, because I have it on quality mode. I just want to show you the difference between quality and performance mode. I highly recommend on PlayStation 5 just to play it on performance mode. It plays so much better. You wouldn't think it would make a huge difference, because Robocop's so slow and tank-like, but it actually makes aiming and stuff a little bit more fluid. It feels like it's dipping below 30, and maybe it's just the way it's implemented, because some games feel really good at 30 and some games feel like a slideshow at 30, and I think it's a combination between motion blur, how they animate things and stuff like that. And I just think this game, for me personally, does not feel great at 30. And to be able to show you a little bit of everything, you're going to notice a lot of cuts in this video, because since it's a commentary video, I don't want to make this video overly too long or have somebody look at it. It's like 2 hours, and God knows I can't talk about RoboCop for 2 hours. I mean, I'd like to, but I'm just not that talkative. So the character of RoboCop is really good, and Lewis is really good as far as likeness. Her acting is a little less than stellar. Peter Weller reprises his voice. He's the only character that I know of that reprises like their role in this game. Everybody else, they somehow got the likenesses, which is actually somewhat rare for a lot of games. So I appreciate they did that, because whoever is doing the voice for Anne Lewis, they sound like her, but there's just not enough emotion, and that might not be the actor's fault. That might be the direction. I don't know, but it makes the game feel a lot more low budget than it is, and I really wish they had better actors in this game, because so much else is on point. And I don't know whether this is a union thing or what. I just feel like if you went to a community theater where these people are volunteering for some of these shows, you could get some pretty amazing actors for like a game. But I don't know, maybe, like I said, maybe it has to do with contracts, union, or whatever. And as you watch this video, you can just see RoboCop just appear in the scene, and that's very distracting. On performance mode, the cut is way faster. It's a little bit more fluid, and I tried to make it so you actually see me go into the options, so you actually have a marker of when I change it to performance mode. Sometimes when I make these videos too, people often are curious what performance mode looks like versus quality mode. But since this is using Unreal Engine 5 and it uses Nanite, it uses some sort of form of like ray tracing like graphics, and where it's almost like the reflection is very, very limited in detail, at least in this game. And then when you get closer to it, it turns into a screen space reflection with even more detail. And with hardware that isn't the most powerful in the world, I believe this works really great. And I can't wait. That sound effect is wrong for his gun leg. If you're like a nerd that loves RoboCop like I do, you'll notice that. But I mean, they got his walk down and everything. As far as the sound goes, as far as the way RoboCop moves, I feel like they need to work on that a little bit. I'm surprised, since they had Peter Weller, they didn't have him do any motion capture. But you know, he's older, maybe they did, and it just doesn't look the same. The suit looks all awkward and stuff, like it's hard to move in, and that's why when they actually made the film, they filmed it from certain angles and stuff like that. Right now I'm trying to test out the destructibility of the environments. That's something I really appreciate in first-person shooters, and this game has quite a bit of it, to be honest with you. It's really nice, and I really appreciate it, and it really makes the weapons feel as powerful as they look. A lot of times you'll like play these games with these giant looking weapons, they can't destroy anything in the environment, and instead of sounding like it has like a bunch of bass and stuff like that, it just sounds like somebody's like tapping on a desk and stuff like that. Some of the Call of Duties I feel like suffer from that. Some of the Call of Duties have amazing sound design with great bass and a little bit of destructibility, and then some of them, like I said, like the guns sound like they have no power whatsoever. It just sounds like people are shooting back and forth at each other with pellet guns. But this does an amazing job. This game is incredibly violent, somehow more violent than the original unrated version of the film, and I absolutely adore it, because when we got to RoboCop 3, the TV series, and all that other BS, like they took all the violence out. Even with the remake, there were some good aspects about the remake. I think the thing about the remake that wasn't great is that I think it was trying to do something a little bit new while following the same formula, but they didn't get the satirical elements. They took out the violence, and that's all part of RoboCop. They took out a lot of the humor, the stop motion robots. Like if I were to make a modern RoboCop film and I had like a CGI like RoboCop had to fight like a Ed 209 or something like that, even if it was CGI, I would take out frames of animation and still make it look janky and stuff like that, because that's that's how the world of RoboCop looks. So some things they've done amazing, and some things I hope they make a sequel, because you can tell the people that worked on this game are incredibly passionate and love RoboCop. I don't know how you can make something this accurate. Like, just walking through the police station and seeing everything that you recognize, or walking through Detroit, or I guess they would call it old Detroit because it's not like Delta City, and like seeing not only references for the film, but feeling like you're walking into that building and knowing where something is because you saw it in the movie, not in the game. And when you play the game, like that room or that object in the room or whatever is right there. That is so cool. Like, I wish more games were this faithful. I know they call this game a AA game. I feel like the budget's even a little bit lower than that. Like, but again, they did such an amazing job, and seeing coming from Rambo, it's pretty crazy. Like, there are other weapons as you see on the floor right here. I always like looking at all the objects and stuff like that on the tables. I always get a kick out of that. There's like somebody actually rendering these paint cans, like pencil CD-ROMs. Like, that makes me sound really old to call them CD-ROMs instead of just like CDs or whatever. Like, I just love like little objects on desks and stuff like that. I think the best company in the business for that is Remedy Entertainment, that makes like Alan Wake, Control, and they used to make Max Payne. I believe they're making a remake of that now, but Max Payne 3 was made by Rockstar. I know the other ones might have been published. I think Rockstar published some of the Max Payne games before, so people, I think, sometimes assume that Rockstar made the first two Max Paynes as well, that they only made the third one, and that's why that game feels so different. I was going to say similar. I was actually saying the opposite of what I was trying to say. I haven't done commentary in a while, if you haven't noticed, so I'm a little bit rusty, but if I do it more, it'll hopefully get better, fingers crossed. But yeah, like, the gore is pretty incredible. You're not going to see anything like you do in Dead Island 2, where it's like layer after layer. I mean, it's RoboCop after all. Although, if they ever do make a sequel, I would love to see like an advanced gore system. You might as well go all out. I love how RoboCop can actually pick up people and throw them around, as well as objects. Sometimes it feels more powerful than your firearm. And there's just so much love, and there's a lot more mini games like this. I was just kind of showing you one. There's also times where you'll have to follow wires and defuse bombs and stuff like that. A lot of RPG mechanics, side quests that I can't show in a 25-minute video, but I'm trying to give you a basic idea, because I think the thing they needed to nail down is the tone and the gunplay, and I think they did that in an excellent way. Since this takes place between RoboCop 2 and 3, they pulled references from all the movies, and I really hope they make a game after 3 and just go for it. Also, things I would like to see in a sequel is the jetpack, actual physical like add-ons to your Auto 9. I know RoboCop doesn't need to see, it needs a reflex sight, but it'd be cool for me to put it on my gun or whatever, or an extended magazine. A lot of times, because you have unlimited ammo, it adds some challenge, I know, but when you have unlimited ammo, it's so weird. You don't think to push square or whatever the reload button is to reload, because you're just used to holding down the button. This especially becomes a problem if you upgrade the Auto 9 to be fully automatic. Then you're like using up bullets, but you can upgrade anything the way that you want. So if you don't want it automatic and want it to be more powerful in a different way to suit your play style, you can do that. And like I said, you can pick up weapons off of the ground, but those are limited in ammunition, and why would you mess with that when you have an unlimited hand cannon that's more powerful than anything you'll pick up beside maybe a rocket launcher or some other weapon or something. But yeah, I was really excited about this. I think at the time people didn't understand my excitement. I still don't think a lot of people had played Terminator Resistance until this game. and then maybe they went back and played it, because I think people are starting to talk about it now. Maybe I'll do a video again about it. I did a video of it years ago, but maybe I'll revisit it because I never covered the PlayStation 5 version or the DLC. I'd love to see DLC for this game, but I would really love to see a sequel, because as much as this does right, I want to be in vehicle combat as Robocop, because I feel like that's a huge thing in the movies. I'd like to see Robocop actually get attachments beside the Auto 9, like attachment that goes on his arm, or jetpack, or anything else you've seen in Robocop mini-series, other movies, cartoons, whatever. Incorporate it all. Make hints about the comic book series. I'd love for them to adapt some of the comic books. Some of the comic books and the stories that didn't get made into films are sometimes better than like Robocop 3, or pretty much anything. No offense to anyone that worked on the TV series, it just wasn't for me. But in my opinion, pretty much anything. A Robocop coloring book is better than the TV series. I remember when I first got Netflix and they had like the Robocop TV series to stream, and I was really excited because I was thinking it was going to be like Robocop 1 and 2, where it's gory and satirical. And oddly enough, sometimes this TV series is a little bit darker than Robocop 3 somehow, but then it's super silly at the same time. It's like the villains are as silly as however you think the villains are. Like, I actually like the villains in the Robocop films, but as silly as you might think they are, like the ones on the TV show are like over the top. They look like something from the MCU versus Robocop. So they actually do try to add some dramatic effects in this game, but again, it goes down to the voice acting. Peter Weller's delivery, man, he hasn't missed a beat. Sometimes when you get these like actors that haven't played this character in a long time, they sound different. Like, for instance, the Ghostbuster games, like none of the original Ghostbusters that reprised their roles, except maybe Harold Ramis in the Ghostbusters. I believe it was 2009 is when it came out. Gosh, that was a long time ago. It doesn't feel like that, but yeah, 2009, that's crazy. But the 2009, I think Harold Ramis was the only one that kind of sounded like his character, and Ernie Hudson as well. He did a fairly good job. But Harold Ramis, his delivery is really dry, so maybe that's just, maybe because of the delivery, that's why it came out well. But like, Harold and Ernie Hudson did a great job, but then Dan Aykroyd, I think Dan Aykroyd's just older, maybe too much Crystal Head vodka or whatever. His voice sounds hoarse, and then Bill Murray sounded like he was phoning it in. But in this, Peter Weller sounds like Robocop, like he never stopped the role. And I wish, even though that the other actors aren't reprising a role from the 80s, I just wish they had more passion. Because when it does come to those more emotional moments, I think they would have more impact. But, you know, with environmental destruction, the gameplay, being able to upgrade Robocop, the RPG mechanics, having side quests, having multiple endings, being able to play the game, seeing things that you didn't the other time because you didn't complete all the side quests. I mean, like, why complain? Like, they have so much other good stuff. It's just like if they'd have the sequel, like, what could you do for a sequel? I'd like to see them explore more things that Robocop's done in the film, and maybe get better facial animation, maybe mocap some of this stuff if they can afford it. Like, they could make something that would be at the Game Awards. Not that that means anything, but I mean, this game's gotten high praise, but I just think that the blueprint for this game is really, really good, and if they fix some of the areas where this game is lacking, it could be more incredible than it already is. Now, I'm just saying the pros and cons of everything. Push comes to shove, this was one of my favorite games I played last year. A matter of fact, I had recently finished Cyberpunk for the second time, with the DLC included when I finished it the second time, and that's probably one of my most favorite video game experiences I ever had, to the point where when I went to go try to select another game after finishing it, nothing was hitting the spot. And it kind of sucked because I couldn't find anything that I was like really enjoying. And I'm like, did this like ruin video games for me? And I knew this was coming out, and this kind of has like a cyberpunk vibe. It kind of has like the RPG mechanics. It's nowhere near what I think cyberpunk is, but for what it is, it not only got me over that hump of like struggling to find something. I'm sorry, my speech is all over the place. Like, again, the more I do this, I'll get better. But anyway, so if I mispronounce anything or stuff like that, I apologize. I also have noise canceling headphones on. Let me make excuses for this. But anyway, even though it's not at the same level, in my opinion, as Cyberpunk, it was hitting the spot. Now, the only thing, and maybe this would help with where I'm talking about, they could add more stuff in. I'm not a game developer, so what do I know? I just know what I like in games. But I feel like if you don't care about Robocop, you've never seen the films, this game might be a 5 or a 6 to you. Because it does a lot of things good, but it doesn't do a lot of things amazingly except be faithful to Robocop. And I feel like that's where it kind of hurts the game, even though that's a good thing. But I feel like if they could get all the other components together with how faithful they are to this license, they could have a game that could like transcend just like Robocop fans. Because I feel like right now, on average, unless you're just curious and it looks cool to you for whatever reason, or you're curious, I feel like most people that want to play this game are fans of the film, and that's a shame. But I get it. Like, if I didn't know any of these characters, I'd just feel like I was going through the paces. I'd have no attachment. Most of the attachment I have for Anne Lewis and Murphy are character development from the film, not this game. So to jump into this game playing as Robocop, not really knowing his backstory, not really knowing where the story goes after this, I feel like you're going to miss out on so much. So if you do plan on playing the game, I feel like you should at least watch the movies, because there's so many references, and I feel like that's a feature of the game. It's not just like, here's an Easter egg. I think that's partially what made the game good. Now, we're getting towards the end of the video, and I just want to show you kind of like what you do in between missions, and I just kind of showed one. The police station is modeled beautifully. I love how it's modeled. Like, I feel like anything I saw in the film, I could just walk to that area and it'd be there. I made sure I captured Robocop's little chair that he sits in. This is where you usually get graded for your missions. I kind of cut that part out since they're like basically explaining what they're gonna do going forward. Like, your first mission was more or less a test run, even though you had like options to do things. Unfortunately, it looked like I didn't save all the hostages with all the chaos. Like, I couldn't tell, but when they graded me, which I cut it out to show one of the short little quests before I ended the video, it said like I didn't save some of the hostages. Sometimes and what happened was, like I was talking about earlier, is like I got carried away with having unlimited ammo and I forgot to reload the gun. So when I had like this hostage shootout, I had like maybe like 1 or 2 bullets in my chamber, and like Robocop's trying to reload his gun slow as shit as they're like shooting the hostages. That happens sometimes, but you know, a lot of times this game doesn't just end abruptly. You just won't get as good as a score, and your score goes towards points, leveling up your armor, your communication abilities, aiming, stuff like that. Stuff you can do trick wise. You can do a lot of cool things with this scanner, like you could do doing, like you saw him doing Robocop 2, where he knows how to ricochet bullets to hit another target perfectly. So there's a lot of cool stuff like that. And there's really silly moments like this that I really appreciate. I feel like this is more from the developer than being faithful to the film. And I think this adds a quirky little stamp showing who made it, and I absolutely love it. It shows personality of the developers, and it's such a obscure situation to see like this towering machine trying to deal with like a basic civil dispute.
Thanks for watching.